Good Shabbos, everybody. We're going to get ourselves going on chapter 7. Let's say our bracha together. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah. And I think we're on verse 16. If we look back at verse 15, it says, Et hakol ra'iti b'imei v'hevli yesh tzadik oved b'tziko v'yesh rasha ma'arich barato. There's the Odyssey. There's the why do bad things happen to good people, why do good things happen to bad people. And then it says, and I think we may have looked at this as well, Al tihi tzadik harbev al hitchakam yoter lama tishomem. Don't be such a tzaddik, and don't be a wise guy so much, because for what reason one will be lost or destroyed or dumbfounded is what they say here. Tishomem will be shamam, one will become. Why should one become desolate? Be destroyed, something along those lines. Like, okay, maybe it shouldn't be so extreme. Don't be such don't obsess. Anyway, we talked about that last week. We may have even also looked at 17. Tov tir shaharbev al tihi sachal. I think this is new, actually. Lama tamud below itecha. Don't be an evil one so much. Notice the parallel here. Let's just circle it. Al ti tzadik harbe, al tir shaharbe. Don't be such a wicked guy, and don't be a fool. Schil. We have that in Psalm 92 on Shabbat. We say, Magalu ma'asech Adonai ma'odam ku machshavotecha. It says, Ish ba'ar lo yeda uchsil lo yavin etzot. Ish ba'ar, sort of how would I translate a ba'ar? A sort of a fool, another word for fool, or a dimwit, does not know. Uchsil lo yavin, and a fool, or a kasil, same word, will not understand this. So don't be such an evildoer, and don't be a fool. And then again, the parallel, lama t, right? They translate it as you won't may be dumbfounded. Here it's you may die without your time. Eight is time. We had that word in chapter 3 all over the place. Remember, to everything there's a season. And if we go back to that for a moment, let's just go to 3:1. So you have a word here that forms a common, see, l'chol zman ve'et, l'chol chefetz tachat hashamayim. There is a time, there is a season, right? And here we're getting that word again. You might die before your time. So in other words, there's a connection between chapter 7 etymologically, linguistically, I should say, and chapter 3, that wonderful passage that we know related to, perhaps the most famous part of Ecclesiastes. Any comments on this idea? So we're basically noting that these two go together. One is about being too much the righteous, perfect one, or too much of a wise person, and the other one, the other extreme, don't be such an evildoer, right? We have tzaddik compared to a rasha, right? A fully righteous person with a wicked doer, an evildoer, and we have a wise person with a fool. Complete parallel verses here.
I would say he's saying, be middle of the road, don't be extreme on either side.
Yeah, it seems to reinforce what we learned from Maimonides about finding a middle path. Not, and and we get that in other religious traditions as well. To be a moderate, not to take extremes in terms of the way you live your life, which is interesting because I thought we all want to be tzaddikim. We all want to be as righteous as we possibly can be. But for some reason, in this context, they're saying it can be, oh, well, and then Rashi struggles with this because look at what he says. Alti tzaddik, do not be overly righteous, right? And they point to Shaul. Does anybody know what Shaul did wrong? His great failing? King Saul, who did he not kill?
Oh, I know. It's one of the Philistine kings. I forget his name.
He kills an Amalekite.
An Amalekite. He doesn't kill or he does
He does
kill?
not kill the Amalekite.
He does not kill them. Okay.
I think it's, is it Og, king of Bashan, maybe? Now I can't remember either.
I thought it was Og.
No, I think Moses was dealing with Og. It's somewhere else. I mean, it's during the time of David. So
Yes. Well, I'll tell you right now. King Agag, that's what it was.
Agag. Okay.
Yeah. King Agag, who, according to the tradition, is a descendant of Amalek.
Okay.
And in his kindness, in his mercy, see, this is the kind of text that leads people to take kind of exception to compassion. It's hard. It's saying that sometimes your compassion can get in the way. And that's not something that people are comfortable hearing. And of course, it's also difficult because when is your compassion getting in the way and when is it actually just the right thing to do? And then do not be overly wise. What does he say? To deduce from a foolish inference from a minor case to a major case. That to me sounds like one of the hermeneutical tools. Kal v'chomer, or from chomer to kal. Let's see how they translate this. Yeah, ladun kal v'chomer shel shtut. Don't judge, don't deduce, wisdom out of a kal v'chomer situation that is built on shtuyot, on nonsense. Okay. It's nice to see you, Kat, but no. Okay. Yeah, Pamela, you have your hand up, so I want to.
I do. And in comparing those 16 and 17, what I'm struck with is that the price you may pay for not being too good or being too wise is that you could just be dumbfounded. You could look like a fool. But the price you pay for wickedness and being a fool is that you might die.
Yes, and according to Rashi, why should you die before your time? As Saul did, as it is stated, and Saul, so he comes back to the story of Saul, but in this case, it's him being a wicked person, interestingly. And Saul died for his transgressions that he committed against Adonai, and then it gives the cases which are not the same cases. So what they do here, what Rashi does here is make both verses about King Saul. He was both overly tzaddik-like and overly rasha-like. Both very much a righteous person and very much a not righteous person.
I believe in the case of Saul, wasn't Samuel, he was instructed through Samuel to kill him, though.
That's the point. No, he wasn't instructed by Samuel. He was just supposed to do it, and he didn't do it. He was supposed to do it because when you're fighting a war, you're not supposed to, They were in Cherem. It was It was destruction. It had to be utter destruction. And Saul says, "Why didn't you kill him?" And then we go from there. But yeah, I mean, it is the story of Saul. It's the story of Saul being both lax in some places and overly hostile in other places. Now, they have examples of him being overly hostile. It would be interesting to see what the reference is. If people are okay with that, I think I'll do that. May I do that?
Samuel said, "Why didn't you kill?"
Yeah.
Not Saul.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. I said Samuel.
Yeah.
I meant Saul. Okay. Let's see. Oh, wait. I should probably do it in Sepharia. Let's see what it says.
Doesn't Saul kill the priests of wherever the place was that the ark was kept? Didn't he do something?
I'm not sure what you're referencing. But here you can see Saul's passing. Saul died b'ma'alo asher ma'al Hashem. This is their translation. Saul died for the trespass that he had committed against God, al davar Hashem, regarding the word of God, which he did not fulfill. He did not guard or observe. And he had consulted a ghost. Oh, because in this case he had consulted a ghost. A necromancer, yes. And this is from First Chronicles. So he had him slain and the kingdom transferred to David, son of Jesse. So that's one of the examples. And then there's another one. In the case of Nov, the city of Kohanim.
That's what I'm talking about.
So this one, oh look, Amoliek. I think it means Amalek, but let's see if it's something different. So here's the one about Nov, the city of Kohanim. But the king said, "You shall die, Achimelech, you and all your father's house." This is the first time that I inquired of God for him. Let's see if we can get some context here. It's a little bit abstract. Do you know the story, Pamela?
Yes, it says in my, I just looked it up on Google. I'd heard it before. King Saul ordered the killing of 85 priests at Nob because they had helped his rival David. The priest Ahimelech was the high priest, and his son Abiathar escaped to warn David. So he killed priests because he was mad at David.
Right. So let's just do a quick read of it. Here's the chapter. We're almost there. David departed from there and escaped to a cave. And when his brothers and all his father's house heard, they joined him down there. Everyone who was in straits and everyone who was in debt and everyone who was desperate joined him, and he became their leader. There were about 400 men with him. David went from there to Mitzpeh of Moab, and he said to the king of Moab, "Let my father and mother come and stay with you until I know what God will do for me." So he led them to the king of Moab, and they stayed with him, and as long as David remained in the stronghold. But the prophet Gad said to David, "Do not stay in the stronghold. Go at once to the territory of Judah." So David left and went to the forest of Heret. When Saul heard that David and the men with him had been located, Saul was then in Gibeah, sitting under the tamarisk tree on the height. Oh, I remember this story. Spear in hand, with all his courtiers and attendants upon him. Saul said to the courtiers standing about him, "Listen, men of Jesse, of Benjamin, will the son of Jesse, King David, give fields and vineyards to every one of you? Will he make all of you captains of thousands or captains of hundreds? Is that why all of you have conspired against me? For no one informs me when my own son makes a pact with the son of Jesse. No one is concerned for me, and no one informs me when my own son has set my servant in ambush against me, as is now the case. And Doeg the Edomite, who was standing among the courtiers of Saul, spoke up, I saw the son of Jesse come to Achimelech, son of Achitub, and Nob. He inquired of God on his behalf and gave him provisions. He also gave him the sword of Goliath the Philistine. So Doeg basically is informing Saul, right? Thereupon the king sent for the priests Ahimelech, son of Achitub, and for all the priests belonging to his father's house at Nob. They all came to the king, and Saul said, listen to me. And Saul said to him, why have you and the son of Jesse conspired against me? You gave him food and a sword and inquired of God for him, that he may rise in ambush against me, as is now the case. And then moving on, looking down, but the king said, you shall die, Ahimelech, you and all your father's house. And the king commanded the guards standing by, turn about and kill the priests of Adonai, for they are in league with David. They knew he was running away, and they did not inform me. So he killed all the non-loyalists. But the king's servants would not raise a hand to strike down the priests of God. Thereupon the king said to Doeg, you, Doeg, go and strike down the priests. So Doeg did it. He killed 85 men. He put Nob, the town of the priests, to the sword. Killed all the men, women, children, infants, all of his enemies. Right? But one of them escaped. His name was Abiatar, and he fled to David. And that was the great evil. And there you go. Very interesting. So that's a problem. So in this case, he was straight up evil. And then there's another case, which we can look at. Let's do this one too. This is from 1 Samuel chapter 15, which I think is Amalek. But yeah, it's the Amalek thing. And he captured King. Saul destroyed Amalek from Havilah all the way to Shur, which is close to Egypt. And he captured King Agag. He prescribed, which is a word for cherem, hecherim lefi charev. He prescribed all the people, putting them to the sword. Basically, he killed them all, but Saul and the troops spared Agag, and the best of the sheep, the oxen, the second-born, the lambs, and all else that was of value. He was supposed to, I think everyone knows this, he was supposed to kill all of them and not take the booty, right? He was not supposed to take the wealth, and he absconded with all the wealth. I think that's the evil that is being referenced here, not his being kind to them. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So
Correct.
Be in the in-between. Okay. Enough with that, right? Okay, let's keep going. Tov asher techechoz. Asher techechoz bazeh. V'gam mizeh al Tanach et yadecha. Ki yireh Elohim yitzeh ekulam. Here's another one of these Tov verses, beginning with Tov. We had a whole bunch of them in chapter 17. It is better, or it is best in this case, that you grab with this, you grab this one, and God, and also from this one you let go your hand, because God will Yetzeh will take you. I like the translation over here. Discharge his duty to both. Will basically execute what's supposed to happen. So Rashi says, as you see here, grasp both righteousness and wickedness. If the righteous prophet told you something that appears to you as being evil, like Samuel did to Shaul, let it not be taken lightly by you to doubt it. A lot of focus on Saul. I don't know what I make of this. Does anybody have any great wisdom out of this? Let's see what is said here.
Well, it's kind of saying it's still the moderation to be, not to grab one or the other, but to do God's duty in the middle. What I kind of pick up from it.
Yeah, that seems reasonable.
Well, we were talking about the Tanya at one point, and none of us are tzaddiks were Binyamins, and we're not necessarily Rashas.
Beinonim.
Beinonim. Is that how it's okay? Beinonim.
Yeah. We're between people. We are betweeners.
Yes. Yes.
Bein zeh uvein zeh, between this and that.
So it doesn't seem like we have a choice about whether we are too evil or too it's just right.
Nice. So you're reading this as this is the state of affairs for most of us. We are in this in between.
Yeah. Because we're human.
Well, I am. I don't know about you. Okay.
I don't know about that cat. I don't think.
Yeah, the cat's not human, but I'm not sure that he's entirely grasping good or grasping evil. I think he's just grasping cat. Okay. Ha-chokhmah ta'oz lechacham me'asara shalitim asher hayu ba'ir. Wisdom is stronger, or wisdom will be strong for the wise. It's more than. Wisdom will be stronger for the wise than 10 rulers who are in a city. Shalitim, lishlot, is to rule or to master or to govern or to have power. So wisdom is more of a stronghold to a wise man than 10 rulers who were in the city. That's interesting. How does this work? There you go. Oh. Amendation yields the riches of the magnates. Oh, may Osher Shalitim. Okay, so let's talk about why they did this. What they're pointing out here is there's two ways to read this text. There's the text as it is written, and then there's the possibility that there is a typographical error. Or maybe not a typographical, but a Masoretic error. An error of transmission of the text. And in this case, what they're pointing out is that asara, which means 10, if you chop this letter off, then this word becomes osher. If you didn't have vowels in it, it would be written the same as this word. And osher means wealth. Oh. Did we lose Avital for a moment? Well, now she's here twice. Okay. So they're saying maybe a different reading could be to look at this not as asara shalitim, 10. In other words, the text kind of doesn't make sense, is what they're arguing, if you read it the way it's written. But if we read it according to Proverbs, so what they're going to point out is CF Proverbs 18:11. I would be willing to bet a small sum of money that you're going to see something about Osher Shalitim, or the wealth of rulers. And let's see what it says. The suspense is killing me. 18:11. Hon Ashir Kiryat Uzo. The wealth of a rich man is his fortress. Okay, so it's not specifically shalitim. It's not, rulers or power magnets, but it is that the wealth of a rich person is their forest, is their fortress, right? So you have a number of the words that appear there. You have uzo and you have osher. And in our text, you have ta'oz and you have asara. Everybody see that? Does that make sense? This is one of those examples in which you have to say, well, maybe some human hands were involved in this text. Maybe it's not letter for letter what God gave to anybody. Maybe there was a process of playing a game of operator, and by the time it got to us, some letters changed. So let's reread this with the emendation. HaChochma ta'oz lechacham me'osher shalitim. The wisdom is more of a strength for a wise person than the wealth or the riches, that makes more sense, of magnets.
You don't think it's me'asara from 10?
So I think you missed when we were discussing that it says here an emendation yields the riches of the magnates. And the reason that they say this is because in Proverbs 18:11 there's talk about riches and power and strength. Does that make sense, or should I go over that again, Avital?
No, it's okay if you guys went over it.
Does it make sense to you or no?
Yeah, I mean, I can read it that way as well.
So they're saying that maybe there was a transmission challenge, and because there's an example of it being parallel with me osher instead of me asara, that it may be that the original text should have been that at one time instead of saying asara shalitim, it would have said osher shalitim. Yes, Pamela.
I'm not even sure I understand what the sentence is trying to say either way. Wisdom is more of a stronghold to a wise man than 10 magnates, whatever that is in my translation, whatever that means. Strong men that a city may content, 10 rulers. But how is that? How is 10 rulers a stronghold? And then if you do the wealth, the riches of the magnates, how is that a stronghold? I guess I don't understand what he's trying to say. And
so stronghold is a bad translation, if you ask me. I would say wisdom will be stronger for a wise person than the riches of rulers who were in the city. So stronger is wisdom for a wise person than riches are for a ruler. As strong as riches are for ruling people, wisdom is even stronger for a wise person. Wisdom is more valuable than, brains over brawn. That's really what it's saying.
That's the translation. That's the correct translation.
Yeah. The short translation, brains over brawn.
We had something similar earlier. For to be in the shelter of wisdom is to be also in the shelter of money. And the advantage of intelligence is that wisdom preserves the life of him who possesses it.
For to be in the shelter of wisdom is to be also in the shelter of money. That's a good link. You're right.
I think this thing kind of spirals. It kind of goes back to some, themes. This thing called Kohelet.
Yeah, so no, you're absolutely right. This is a very good insight. This text in verse 12 is essentially the same theme here. Not by might and not by power, but by wisdom. Not by spirit. In this case, it's wisdom. So that's one of the reasons why I think scholars have associated this book with wisdom literature. as a class of wisdom, of literature, along the lines of Proverbs and several other materials. Okay? Are we ready to keep going? All right, that no words means yes. Well, everyone's muted, so. Ki adam ein tzadik ba'aretz asher yaseh tov velo yecheta. So everyone can sin. For a person, there is no such thing as a righteous person. Implicitly, is a perfectly righteous person in the land who will do good and not sin. All of us are capable of transgression. Doesn't that feel like it should be in the Machzor?
Yeah, it sounds like a very big Yom Kippur thought for sure.
Yeah.
Here, let's
And
see what happens.
Very Jewish. I mean, when we look at our Bible, we look at people just blowing it right and left.
Oops. Yeah.
And because we're human.
Absolutely.
We don't have that expectation of perfection. And yes, we're going to start all over again with Adam and Eve.
Yeah, for some reason this is not copying correctly. But I could do just a little bit of it. Hold on. Now I'm really dying to see if this was ever picked up by anyone. For some reason it's not letting me.
There you go.
And action. Okay, well, it's in Sanhedrin 101. And I wish I knew how to eliminate. I don't know how to do this in Sefaria. I want to have a literal, verbatim quote. So what they'll do is they'll put in entries that have all the words in it. So this is Perek Chelik. I think it's Maimonides. And then, Rashbam gets into it a little bit. But I do not see it. Oh, wait. Oh, I know what I could do. I can look at liturgy. Let's just look at the liturgy. There it is. Look at that. It made its way into the Machzor. In Yom Kippur.
As it should.
Hoshia Adonai Ki Gamar Chasid. I mean, this is great. Here, let's take a look at it in that context. Are we surprised? No. Okay, so here it is with candle lighting. There is no, and since it is obvious, there is no righteous man on earth who does only good, who never sins. So when you light the candles in some communities, let's see, you have a huge text that people will recite connected to it. Look at all this. Oh, Tfilah Zakah. This is a prayer that happens in some communities before candle lighting. I think it's before, not after. Let's see. Yeah, we just passed it. I don't want to take up too much time. Yeah, we can look at this sometime. It's very interesting. It's a preparatory thing. You're trying to get yourself ready for the holiday. And you're trying to be meditative. Maybe we'll just look at that one paragraph, the way it's being used. Let's see if I can find it again.
Well, this all kind of goes into the previous paragraphs where it's saying, not be too wicked, not be too righteous. And well, even the righteous is going to have some sin on their blood, blood on their sin. Not really blood, but, will have problems also. And that's just kind of all together here.
Yeah.
That we all make mistakes at some point.
Yeah. Absolutely. So you can see that it did make its way into. Look at all the things it made its way into. Yom Kippur Machzor. Rosh Hashanah Machzor on the second day during the repetition. Ki Adam Ein Tzadik Ba'aretz Asher Ya'aseh Tov. Right, it's broken up into two phrases, and it's almost like a commentary on it. Here's for Slichot, the Set Slichot prayer book. Here it is in the Polish rite of Slichot. These are a whole bunch of different rites. Here's the Litvak, the Lithuanian rite. And then I don't know what Simchat Haregel is. It's whoever this guy is. Okay. Anyway, very interesting. It is a great line. Which is to say that all of us can be tzaddikim, right? Because all of us, we know that we can sin, right? We can do the wrong thing. But that doesn't disqualify you from being a tzaddik. Isn't that kind of what this is read? What this is being, how one can read this? There is not one tzaddik in the land who will do good and will not sin. Gam l'chol hadvarim asher yidaberu al titen libecha asher lo tishma et avdecha mekalalecha. Also, and I'll just go with this translation because it's a little bit clunky. Don't pay attention to everything that is said so that you may not hear your slave reviling you. I don't know what that's referencing.
I think maybe it's saying that don't pay attention to gossip. Like all the things that people say, don't give your heart to it.
Right.
And don't hear your slave cussing at you or cursing at you.
So that you will not hear your servant curse you.
Yeah.
Right. And that goes right with the next line, though, too. You got to read them both together, I think.
Ki gam pa'amim rabot yada libecha asher gam ata kilalta acherim.
So it's saying, you don't take so much heed about what other people are saying. You've done it yourself. You've cursed others.
Because many times your heart knew that you were cursing others. That you too were cursing others. Gam. It's kind of an interesting statement. I want to think about it for a moment. I mean, the first part to me is, unplug from all the social media. People are saying all sorts of crazy things right now. People are saying things that are absolutely factually unsubstantiated. And people are getting worked up based on unsubstantiated claims all the time. Whether it's social media or I would even say on the networks as well. Right? But you're right, Irvin. The second part says that we have the capacity to condemn, curse, attack others.
Well, basically, it's saying, don't get all worked up about someone cursing you because you've done it to them. Tit for tat, or look in the mirror and see yourself doing it.
Yeah, which is interesting. I mean, why does this get that type of treatment? Right? I mean, isn't the first sentence enough? Why do we need to be reminded of our capacity to say the wrong thing?
Because we do.
But there's a lot of other statements that don't get that kind of response. So why is this one singled out?
Maybe because it's a bad habit to curse others or to gossip, perhaps.
Slander, right?
Slander, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You're saying here there's a, you're doing lashon horror against me. You're doing this lashon horror. You're doing this lashon horror. You're horrible. But yeah, look in the mirror. You've just done it to somebody else
Yeah, Pamela.
without.
Yeah, the thing that I'm looking at is this relationship in the first in 21 that you may not hear your slave reviling you. I mean, there's right there is a power statement. You know, if your slave is reviling you, that implies that you care that your slave reviles you. It's not like your friend, it's your slaves. So there's something there to be said with the power. You're letting the what their slave says about you get under your skin.
Right.
Well,
It's
also,
not friend, it's slave.
there's also a responsibility. If you're in a higher class, you have a responsibility to be more correct in your behavior, so that when someone lower than you should want their respect, and you should create that respect by being a person worth respecting.
Yeah, and also I think we know this from human experience. When you live in a world of gossip, you find yourself being part of that system. And the violence of hearing gossip and taking it to heart can lead you to gossip and make it such that others will gossip too, because the slave is cursing you because they're gossiping. They're saying bad things about you.
So you should aspire to be the person that they don't have anything bad to say about.
Right. And part of that is making sure that you don't take gossip to heart. Not just that you don't gossip, which is I think what the second part is about, but also that you don't let it get to your heart. Don't let those words enter into your heart. In other words, don't pay attention to what other people are saying. Sort of squelch. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I'm just wondering why it says finally when there's, so much more after this.
Well, they're using the word gam, which
because
means
my translation
also.
says also, yeah.
Yeah. Although that does suggest that it's connected to the previous passage. But I think we should keep going, even though we could go backwards and take a look at that. Okay. All right. Interesting. Kol ze nisiti b'chokhma, amarti b'chekama, vehi rechoka mimeni. All this I tested with wisdom. I said, or I thought as they translate here, I will infer, maybe, or I will be wise about it. Or I guess they translate it as I have probed with wisdom over here. I have considered it with wisdom, and it is far from me.
Yeah, my translation is like you translated it, not what it says there. It says, "All this have I tried by wisdom, I said, I will be wise, but it was far from me."
Right. So they say so they break it up the way you're reading it is read it one more time, Irvin.
All this, yeah, I had to unmute. All this have I tried by wisdom. I said, I will be wise, but it was far from me.
Okay.
They're using fathom and eludes.
Yeah. Well, fathom I think is like an I can see how they come up with fathom, but it definitely uh, is a fancy way of saying I will be wise. And eludes me is really far from me, rachok. So I said, so all this I tried with wisdom, or I tested with wisdom, but it's the same word. I tried with wisdom. You know, it's the same word as in the Akedah, which I know there was a discussion, both Rosh Hashanah in terms of the reading and also on Yom Kippur, Irvin led a discussion. Nisiti is the same word as God tested Abraham. So all this I experimented maybe with wisdom. And I said, I will be wise. And they read this Vav as, but it is far from me. And then the note here, let me just do that. The note here says, refers back to 6:12. So let's take a look at 6:12. 6. Who can possibly know what is best for a man to do in life, the few days of his fleeting life? Or who can tell him what the future holds for him under the sun? It's weird that they're connecting those two, but I must be missing something.
So mine is like Irvin, where it says, I will get wisdom, but yours is, I will be wise. That's such a different translation. I will get wisdom. That's like, I'm going to get this, like you're acquiring something. But yours, you translated, not I thought I could fathom it, but your direct translation is to be wise.
Kama. It's a strange construct.
Oh.
So I think that's part of why it's confusing. So I thought I could fathom it. I will get wisdom is yours.
It's yeah, I will get wisdom, but it was far from me.
I would become wise, but it is far from me. I will make myself wise. That sounds kind of actually plausible.
I almost think it says like I'll be clever, kind of like I'll figure it out, I'll get it, but I'm not.
Well, and up here, where was that? We just had a strange use of the word tit chakam. He will, and do not be overly wise. And that's a different form of the verb. That's a hitpael, which is, what do they call that? A reflexive? There's a fancy word for it.
Well,
Anyway.
I guess with the sentence, I will get wisdom, it seems like, when we go back towards the beginning of reading all these things, going and acquiring this, acquiring that, and we see it's all futile, it's all hevel. This is because wisdom has become a thing in this translation.
Right. Which
I guess
is kind of consistent with the whole book, where it's a pursuit for obtaining wisdom. Which is interesting. All this I've tested with wisdom. All this I have proved by wisdom. I said, I will be wise, but it was far from me. Yeah, none of these really say anything that different. Let's see what Rashi has to say. I have probed with the wisdom of the Torah. Right, so a lot of the rabbinical approach, there's an issue with this idea of wisdom because in Greece, in Hellenistic society, it was about you obtain the sophists, right? The concept of the sophists, people who are wisdom collectors. And for the rabbis, the only source of real wisdom is Hashem. It's Torah. It's what we find in the Torah. So if you were reading this as a Greek person, or if you're reading this as part of high culture in Greece or Rome, you might say, I tried to become a sophisticate of wisdom. I said, I shall be a wise person. But I just couldn't get it. I wasn't smart enough.
Maybe it's talking about those three wise guys. Yuck, 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 yuck.
Maybe. Yeah, I like that. Very good.
I know you're a Three Stooges fan.
Oh yeah. No, I heard Curly just a second ago. I don't know. I was just hearing the sounds of Curly. I said I will be wise to know the wisdom of Torah, but it proved to be far beyond me. And what does that mean? And what is this? The lama zeh, is that what he's going to say? What? Umahizu. Oh, he's trying to say it is far from me means, but I couldn't understand it. But what is this? Right? Not that enlightening. Okay. Rachok ma shehaya amok amok v'amok amok mi yimtzaenu. What happens, or what was, is far. Far away from my knowledge is the implication. Amok amok, and deep, so deep. Who will be able to find it? Who will find it? It's a reflection on 23. I tried to get the smarts, but it eluded me.
Right.
It was far from what I am far from what is or was. It's deep. It's very deep. Who can find it? I think that's the reading. Avital, does that seem consistent?
I think it's who would find me. Or maybe it's Yimtzaenu. Yeah, I think I can't find the depth, so I suppose it's the depth of thought.
Right. It's interesting because it's Yimtzaenu, not Yimtzaena, which would be who will find it, meaning the wisdom.
Or who would find us?
Yimtzaenu, Yimtzaanu. Rachok ma shehaya. It was far. Et hadvarim harechokim shehayu b'tzirat breshit. Oh, so now he's connecting it to the wisdom of, what is it? Eschatology? The wisdom of the creation of the world? Is that what he's saying? The distant things that were in the creation. And so very deep it is, who can find it? For I am not permitted to delve into them. What is above and what is below, what is before and what is after. That's a reference to the bet. Does everybody know this midrash?
No.
That the first letter of the Hebrew of the Torah is a bet. Have we discussed this? The rabbis comment, why does the Torah begin with a bet, the second letter, and not with an aleph? Because we're not allowed to ask what it actually begins with, for one thing. Because God precedes all of this. So you're not allowed to ask what happened, what is before, and you're not allowed to ask about the time when Mashiach will come, right? There's rules against predicting the future. There's rules against astrology. What is above is the heavens, and what is below is hell. You're not allowed to look at what happened below in the past or what's above. You can only go forward, but of course that contradicts this what is after. But I think that that's what he's alluding to, that midrash.
In the midrash, they allude to hell. I've never heard of that, but
Yeah.
not to say that it can't be. I've never. I mean,
Yeah,
they don't talk about it in Torah at all.
In the book of Jonah, in his poem, he says that he is down in the depths of Sheol.
Right, but that's debatable whether that's saying Shaol. I've heard that not really as hell. I mean, that was the same thing that Jacob had said. You know, if he lost Benjamin, his soul would go to Shaol. When to take Benjamin down to Egypt there, not to let him go. And so I've heard different interpretations. I have heard interpretations of it as hell, but it seems like it's not. But there you go.
Well, again, I think what's being, we have to recognize that midrash is over a tremendous amount of time, and certain ideas become more popular. Certain ideas are more popular at various points. So here's Sheol, underworld, grave, hell, pit, right? So that's the place that's below. Now, of course, when is Jonah saying this? It's when he's underwater in the belly of the whale or the fish. The fish. Mim'e hadaga, from the innards of the fish. In my trouble I called to Adonai, and he answered me from the belly of hell, Sheol, whatever you want to call it. So it seems a little bit more. I mean, this is a distraction from what we're talking about. But there's no doubt that the rabbis know that there's realm, in their minds, there are places that they just can't go. And that includes the idea of an underworld. I think underworld is a good translation.
The fish is like the compost.
The compost.
The compost is the underworld? Oh, it's 6 o'clock. How did we get so late?
Pamela was referencing our compost bucket today was really stinky.
Okay.
The belly of the fish, it smelled as bad as that.
All right. Well,
I had taken it out during Yom
okay,
Kippur.
we're going to change the subject because I don't want to get sick to my stomach. So we're going to, I think this is as good a place to stop as any. We're going to start up with verse 25 next time. Look at that. We're finally, next time we have to finish this chapter. My gosh, we've been on chapter 7 for a long time. So let me stop the share. And we'll start up next time with chapter 20, with verse 25. And yeah, it's a good spot to break as it is. Any last thoughts before we go?
Yeah, last night's service was a lot of fun.
Thank you. Let me turn off the recording so that people in 2049, when they're listening to YouTube and listening to us drone on,